Hey again, guys. You know what I like to do when I'm texting with other YouTubers? I like to look at some baseball cards. Alright, on my last video, I went through and showed my 1951 Bowman cards. And I wanted to show my 1954 Bowman cards now. I wanted to look at through these with you. You know, when I was growing up, I've mentioned this before, we always called it Bowman. Everybody in my town called him Bowman. It wasn't until more recently when I got on here on YouTube that I changed the pronunciation of those. I believe it is Bowman, but still not 100% sure. You know, the 52 Bowman, the 51 Bowman, the 50 Bowman, the 49 Bowman always get a lot of love. And of course everybody seems to love, most people, the 53 Bowman. And a lot of people show these. And there are some guys like Alex that dedicate most of their collecting to that set. But the 1954 Bowman doesn't get a whole lot of love. And it's a pretty interesting set, and I really love it. So, of course, the number one card in this set, and I'm not talking price, I'm just talking, this was the number one card that was always in demand, and it was the most pricey one. I assume it still is, but I don't really follow prices. And with the popularity of all Mickey Mantle's cards, who knows, maybe that surpassed it by now. But is the Ted Williams. And the reason is that, and look, a lot of the guys that watch my channel are going to know a lot of this stuff, but if you're a new collector or new to vintage, or you know, somebody that just might not know this stuff, I'm going to share it. So Ted Williams was in this set, but Bowman had to pull the card because he had an exclusive deal with Topps. And I find it funny that just to rub it in, Topps produced 2 Ted Williams cards. Do you think that's why Ted Williams is the only one that has 2 cards in the 54 Topps set? And so, you know, in the old days, before pop reports and so forth, this card was believed to be much more rare than it actually is. It's not super rare, although it's the scarcest card in the set. And it was always one of the top cards in the hobby. And this is a great example of it, and just so thrilled when I picked it up. And another interesting tidbit is, you know, Jimmy Piersall had this card. And this is number 210. But when they pulled the Ted Williams card, they felt the need to replace it because you would have a gap in the numbering. And so they made Jimmy Piersall a second card, and they gave it the same number as the Ted Williams card. So if you are a completist, you need both Jimmy Piersalls to complete your set. Now this is a card I know I've heard a lot of people say they don't necessarily care for, but I love it. And that is the Willie Mays. And I love this Roy Campanella. Duke Snider. Now this was the last big card I got for my set, so I have all the big ones now. And I just never really cared for it as far as one of my favorites. If I had to shell out the money to get a Mickey Mantle, this wasn't the Mickey Mantle that I would go after first. There were just about all the other mantles I would want before this one, except for the 52 Bowman. I don't really care for that mantle. But anyway, the Mickey Mantle. I believe these were the first 2 I ever got from this set years and years ago, back probably around 2001 or 2002, somewhere in there. Pee Wee Reese. It's a fantastic card. And now that I think about this, this was from my childhood collection. I got it graded in 2002-ish. But I always loved that card. And this Carl Erskine. I picked that one up. I believe I picked that one up graded in the early 2000s. Here's a Yogi Berra. Fantastic. Eddie Matthews. Richie Ashburn. Great center fielder. Bob Feller. Whitey Ford. Gil Hodges. Nellie Fox. Red Shandings. Robin Roberts. And one of my favorite cards in the set, it just looks really vintage to me. And I love it, is Jim Gilliam. We have Don Larson. Early Win. This is Ferris Fain. Good ball player. Got a Ralph Kiner. Larry Doby. I always love Vernon Law's cards in the 50s. They always show him with that high leg kick. There's some cool cards. His 1952 Topps, 1952 Bowman are two of my all-time favorite cards. The 52 Topps is just phenomenal. One of the best looking cards ever made. And I got to meet this guy, Frank Thomas. My dad would always tell me that he would barehand balls at third base, right? And I see pictures of him with like sleeveless shirts. He was a little bit jacked for the era. And my dad would tell me that he would barehand the ball at third. And I always thought my dad was probably exaggerating. So I ran into him one time. And I asked him, I said, my dad always told me that you would barehand that ball at third base. Is that true? And he said, you bet your ass it is. Here's Hoyt Wilhelm. Bobby Avila. Roy McMillan. Chico Carrasquel. I don't think I pronounced his name correctly. Hey, Paul, tell me how to pronounce that. Orlando. Gene Woodling. And here we have Del Mitchell. Who could tell me Del Mitchell's significance in baseball history? I'll give you a hint. He made the last out in the 56 World Series when he threw his perfect game. Another Allie Reynolds. Did I already show one of him? Don Newcomb. He was a World Series hero too, Allie Reynolds. Great Billy Martin. Can you look at a Billy Martin card without seeing him screaming at Reggie Jackson? Minnie Minoso. Is it just me, or does he look like a little league player with that giant mitt that's too big for him? Here's Bobby Shantz. Hank Bauer. I have this big stack still. I have most of this set. Harvey Keene. So I'll finish up there. But I wanted to show you the highlights of this set. It's a great set to collect. In my opinion, from my experience, it's these cards can be obtained for a lower price than most of their other cards. So, you know, it's an interesting set, and I really like it. I really like it, but, you know, I get it. Bowman had some great designs and some great sets, but, man, this is just one of the hobby icons. I think this belongs in any vintage collector's set. Vintage collector's collection. It certainly belongs in the set. But just the great story that goes with this. You know, this is, I don't know, similar to the 52 mantle being thrown in the river. Or in the ocean, or wherever they threw it. And, you know, that story has evolved that they just threw mantles in. I mean, they threw the whole third series in there, right? Not just mantle. But anyway, I always find that story interesting too, because those cards, they're not rare. You know, maybe they didn't sell and they did that. Clearly that's what they said, but that still didn't make them rare. But whatever. All right, guys, I'm rambling. Thanks for watching. Tell me this isn't one of the greatest baseball cards ever made. That's what a baseball card should look like right there.